So let's talk about Hector Ayala, or the White Tiger.
Hey, buddy, this doesn't
All
concern
right,
you.
hey, you're beating on a guy who can't defend himself. It
Okay.
concerns me. I said stay out of it.
So Hector is the first incarnation of the White Tiger. There is quite a few incarnations of the White Tiger because it's just whoever gets this amulet. So later on it becomes like his niece, who we might end up seeing in season 2. But he is the first incarnation of the White Tiger, introduced in a Iron Fist comic in 1975. He was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and eventually moved to the Bronx with his family. Elsewhere in New York City, there is a dojo called Tiger Dojo, where the people there are taught by Master Key, who had bestowed his amulets upon 3 different students, which were later dumped in an alley after they had had a disagreement with Key, who used it to get from his hidden city to Earth. But when the tiger is stolen by his enemies, they end up separating the 3 different pieces into 3 separate amulets. And at some point they get to Master Key, who gives them to those 3 students to then be discovered by Hector, who finds them in the alley after that disagreement where the 3 had thrown them away. Hector impulsively puts on these amulets and is turned into the White Tiger and becomes an incredible martial artist. But the only problem is that the White Tiger persona is completely separated from the person who wears it, which means it takes Hector some time to become one with his own superhero persona. When the tiger tries to save a security guard from a nomad street gang, he ends up trying to talk down the youngest, who is actively shooting at White Tiger, but the bullets kind of just bounce off. So the security guard gets up and hits him over the head with something and is struck by the White Tiger, who's actually mad at the security guard for getting in the way of this conversation that he's having to try to talk him down. And the security guard is badly hurt, and Lopez has unfortunately passed away from this. And when the White Tiger flees, he is implicated in the murder of Lopez. Fleeing to his apartment, the tiger reverts back to being Hector, who is overcome by nausea due to the addiction the amulet causes, though he doesn't initially know that that is even a thing. And while his family kind of worries that he's getting into drugs because he has a drug-addicted older brother, it is found that there is a radio at the scene of Lopez's murder which has Lopez's blood on it and is connected to Hector, so the police come and find him. But because of the separation between the White Tiger persona and Hector, he doesn't know what had happened and he flees and becomes the White Tiger again. Hector grows up in close proximity with his parents and his brother and his 2 sisters, and eventually his niece takes up the mantle of White Tiger. But something is to note that the first murder and this other thing that happens to Hector is kind of what they're like mushing together to get the storyline for Hector right now, because unfortunately this is not Hector's first run-in with the law and not his first run-in where somebody had died in the fight that he's trying to fight. Years later, after not being the White Tiger for a very long time, he becomes the White Tiger again, and unfortunately 2 days into his renewed vigilante career, he stumbled into a botched pawn shop robbery that resulted in the murder of a cop. While the perpetrators fled, the tiger was discovered standing over the cop's body and was charged with murder. Despite the media circus around Hector's case, Luke Cage and Iron Fist convinced Matt Murdock to become Hector's lawyer. And Matt had a strong case as there was no evidence tying Hector to the murder weapon, but the jury's minds had already been made up and Hector was convicted. As the verdict was read, Hector, unwilling to go to jail, grabbed the bailiff's gun, fled the courtroom, and was gunned down by the police on the courtroom steps. Later, Matt, as Daredevil, went to go find the actual perpetrator of the crime and convinced him to confess, clearing Hector's name. Hector willed the amulets to his niece, who then gives it to Hector's sister, Ava, who then becomes the White Tiger as well. Unfortunately, we can't have Hector around in the show for too long, so I think we will just get this story sort of wrapped up and rushed under because of obvious real-life circumstances. But hopefully we will see somebody take up the helm as White Tiger, like his sister or his niece, so we can see the White Tiger around in New York for a lot longer. When I had originally recorded this, it was the day before the new episode, so I was kind of speculating what would happen because I didn't really want him to just die in the first, second episode. But since that's what's happened and it's a little bit further out, I wanted to talk about how the way that they did the story in Daredevil was a lot better than the way they did it in the comics. Because despite it being heartbreaking, the way that they actually like framed it for him to have a win instead of him running away was really cool. Obviously we will see what happens with the cop or whatever, not Frank, not the Punisher, that ended up doing this, and see what happens, because I think it'll bring in Muse, who's also really cool. I think I'll just have to figure out what's going on. But hopefully this answered a little bit of your questions about who Hector is and what the amulets are. If you like this and you want to see more like this, be sure to like and comment and subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you know when we post more things, and I will see you guys next time. Stay geeky. Bye!